I was only in my second year out of university. I think we certified 6 bridges, 500,000 cubic metres of earthworks, pavements, drainage, the whole lot. I did it all on my own. Now, that was really uncomfortable, but that's the sort of environment I flourish in. So I found in the engineering industry, we all think our clients are our customers, and they're not. Our clients quite often are public authorities who are acting on behalf of the community. We solve complex problems for the community. They're our true customers. So I say to everyone, and so you want an environment where people do take pride in what they do, because that's when the magic starts to happen. So you create an environment where you're clear on your purpose, you take great pride in what you do, and you give people the freedom to.
Engineering has always been about solving complex problems with purpose and ingenuity. Yet across the industry, that spirit is being dulled by fear. Fear of litigation, fear of accountability, fear of being wrong, fear of stepping outside the standard, even when the standard delivers average outcomes. This fear is costing the industry courage. Ben Schnitzerling has spent his career challenging that pattern. As a leader, engineer and founder, he has seen how fear stifles innovation, how corporate pressure narrows our thinking, and how accountability is slowly being replaced by safe neutrality. He argues that engineering cannot meet the demands of the next decade by doing what has always been done. Not with Queensland's pipeline, not with the financial straits we are already facing. In this episode, Ben unpacks what courageous engineering truly looks like and how leaders can create cultures that reward considered risk. Together, we unpack how engineers can move beyond compliance thinking and reconnect with purpose. We shine a light on how courage, pride, and accountability shape the quality of design and the legacy we leave behind in our communities. Innovation in engineering is no longer optional. It's imperative. If we want to build better, we must challenge the status quo, embrace stretch, and allow our pressure to sharpen our thinking rather than silence it. Courage is no longer a nice to have. It is a requirement for what comes next. Welcome to the Building Doors podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Great to be here.
Thanks for being so courageous and coming on as a guest. I want to always start with where it came from for you. I won't lie. Like, one of the areas that really fascinates me is where people's, career path was born. So let's go back way to young Ben and where the interest in engineering was born.
Well, really good question. So it's a long time coming, I suppose. So I started my building career when I was a young boy. So my father's a builder. He's got an interesting background. So he left home at 13, moved off to live on his own in a home and become a carpenter in Cairns. So that's in the early 1950s, so a long, long time ago. And so he always taught us off, young people should learn how to work hard. And so my father was always intrigued. If I wanted to go and play sport, he'd say, why would you want to go and do that? There's heaps of yard work to be done. Go and dig up the garden. So as a kid, every school holidays, you go off with your father, and I used to nail off floors or nog houses. So that's where you got two studs, you put a piece of timber in between, that's called a nogging. So my job as a kid was nogging out houses or nailing off floors. Absolute bugger of a job, but it taught me a great love of building things. So my father's a builder, my sister's an engineer. I'm obviously an engineer. Two of my brother-in-laws are engineers, so a family built into engineering. So through schooling, I always knew I wanted to do something building things. And hence, when I got to the end of school, engineering was it for me. Having said that, I struggled at school. I found it really hard. And so I didn't get into engineering the first time around. I had to go and do a bridging course, and then I finally got into something that I absolutely love, which was engineering.
What was it that you struggled with around school? If you think back to that time, was it that you found hard? Was it the, because just thinking you're obviously in your holidays out using your hands, kinesthetic learning, all that sort of stuff, and then you got to sit in the classroom and learn. What did you find hard about school? And
look, education's gone through a fair evolution since when I went to school in the 80s and 90s. So it was very structured. And I am someone with dyslexia, so there were certain topics that my brain would just scramble, and I still struggle with today. So I struggle with some of the rules and structure of schooling. Not saying that I did really badly, but I certainly struggled in some areas. So I wanted a different environment where I was empowered to actually learn how I want to learn. And it wasn't until I got to university that I got that freedom. Yeah, so school was an interesting and challenging time for me, certainly for a number of years. And I think it's another part to it is I hadn't learned how to learn. And it's a really bizarre concept, but in my younger days I was a bit relaxed, and my parents didn't really whip me hard to learn at school. So by the time you get to senior school and you're trying to form with the structure that they've got, it was near impossible. So I got through, and then, as I say, I determined where I wanted to go for my career, and I had to take all the steps to get there.
So one of the things I'm interested in now as a parent, so you look at that, because you run a business now, and you look at that grounding, those foundation, and I know that you've got kids too. How did that shape you as a parent?
I don't think I push my kids as hard as my parents push me, and maybe that's to my detriment. Having said that, I'm very conscious of the sort of person that I am. I'm a big personality, and I can become overwhelming. And so my kids are quite different to me, so I've got to try and measure how I engage with them to make sure that I get the best out of them. And I think that's the key thing. Everyone's different. So getting the best out of people, you've got to tailor your approach. So my eldest son, this kid is gifted at mathematics. He's the most beautiful soul. He doesn't have to study. And he can just pick up mathematical concepts and then explain them like no one else. And I love watching his brain work. Now, if I stand in the room and say, come on, you've got to hurry up and study, it won't happen. You've got to put a different environment around him to get the best out of him. So as I say, I've had to learn how to change my teaching approach for my kids to get the best out of them. My youngest one, he needs a little bit more structure, and that's cool. And my middle boy, again, giving him slightly different environments to get learning seems to be working well. They're all wonderful children. They're very, very smart. They've got their mother's IQ, so they've got genetics on their side. So I'm very proud of how they're going, and I'm sure they will do wonderful, bright careers and contribute to society.
One of the things that's fascinated me about you, and not knowing that you'd been struggling with dyslexia, going through studies and things like that, then going to uni, then running your own business, when, of course, when you run your own business, you've got to be across P&L and so much other stuff other than the running of the business. How did you navigate that, and how did you work with your limitations and your strengths to be able to have the successful business you have now?
So I've been very fortunate in my career that I've got some really great opportunities to work on fantastic projects. And in each one, you learn new skills that you can then apply later on. And so the best advice my parents gave me was, don't chase a career for money. Find what you love doing. Be the best that you can be at it, and everything sort of falls into place. So when I started out my career in engineering, it was every opportunity came along. If it popped up, I grabbed it and ran at it and immersed myself in it. And that meant being really uncomfortable at times. So I always tell people about the story around, I did the certification works from the Centenary Highway through to, Ipswich Motorway through to Logan Motorway. I was only in my second year out of university. I think we certified 6 bridges, 500,000 cubic metres of earthworks, pavements, drainage, the whole lot. I did it all on my own. Now, that was really uncomfortable, but that's the sort of environment I flourish in. So I found I had to learn the concept of being uncomfortable to learn. Then I went on, I did alliances where I started to learn about the concept of breakthrough thinking, how to train and coach, how to bring your background conversations forward. And so that developed me as what I classify as a leader. And then as I continued on with my career, I had a whole range of experiences again where they became incredibly uncomfortable. I had to learn new skills. And I was fortunate again to get a coach to allow me to learn more about myself. And I think that's the thing that the greatest learning that I've had along the whole way, and this only came probably about 6-7 years ago, not long before I started Red Fox, was we confuse ourselves with all the things that we should love and the beliefs of all the things that we should do. And life is actually really simple. First and foremost, you've got to remember to love yourself. and be proud of what you're doing. Because if you're happy with yourself and what you're doing, you make great decisions and you treat those around you really, really well. Then you love your partner. They're the second most important person in your life. Third, if you've got kids, they come after that, and work comes fourth. Don't put work first. And people do that too often. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't put work first. I did. And sometimes people say, oh, I'd love to have a career like you, Ben. And you go, well, you got to be careful what you wish for in life. Sometimes it might just happen. Now, I don't blame anyone for any of the decisions I've made. I made all of them, and it's made me who I am today. But as I say, if I share and impart any learning out of it to anyone, I'd say love yourself first. That's the most important thing.
Would you change anything?
No. Like, have I always made great decisions? No, I haven't. But I wouldn't change anything because you always learn something out of it. And that goes to the heart of what I try and impart on people now is you're better to have a go and make a decision and move forward. And even if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. You've learnt something from it. And again, when do we make bad decisions? When you're really tired. So you ever wake up at 3 a.m, and you lie there thinking, it's a small business owner going, oh boy, I've got to think about all these things right at 3 a.m. The brain you can hear the brain wind up, and you're just lying there looking at the ceiling. Oh, where am I going to find some work? Oh, I've got to do this tomorrow. I've got to get this done. Go back to sleep. It'll be better tomorrow. And that's the thing to remember. The sun will come up tomorrow. There will be a way through. It's okay.
One thing that someone said to me once, which has forever stayed with me, is there is no right or wrong decision. It was a coach. Yeah. They said there's only different decisions with different consequences. And everyone makes the very best decision at the time with their given brain power, whatever place, knowledge, expertise they have. So you can never look back on hindsight and decision and go, I would do it differently, because you're looking back at that subjectively from where you are now with all those lived experiences. Yeah. And I think that leads nicely into what we wanted to talk about, which is courage. And you spoke about a lot of that growth that you had in learning was when you were uncomfortable. Tell me more around that importance of in engineering of that courage and of people getting a bit uncomfortable to learn.
It's something that I've become very passionate about. And let's go back to grassroots. What's engineering about? And it's solving complex problems. There is no right or wrong answer, and there isn't a routine that you follow every time. It is about, here is an abstract issue I've got to try and solve, and then it's using a whole range of mathematics, physics, concepts to come up with a solution. Yes, we have standards and other rules and guides that we use, but generally it's down to the individual to develop that concept. That's the creative part, and that's the exciting, beautiful part of what we do. And that's where architects and engineers work very close together. It's a beautiful, creative environment. But that means you've got to be prepared to try something different. And we've seen this concept start to develop, and I suspect I know where it's coming from. But increasingly we've seen this environment whereby there is a fear of trying things different. And I find it a little perverse, whereby I was talking to someone one day we were doing a lessons learned on a project, and I said, oh, look, I know she used this product X here. I'm not sure that was really the best solution because it's very expensive, they're hard to install, a whole range of reasons. They said, oh, yeah, okay, that's good feedback. But what else could I do? Oh, well, you can do all these other solutions, suggested a few. And they said, oh, but if I did that, then I wouldn't have a product to rely on where I could, just as a certifier RPEQ, I couldn't just say, oh yeah, I use product A, I'm off the hook. And that's a really perverse environment that we've created, whereby there's this belief, and to be truthful, I think it's misnomer, that if you rely on a standard or a product, you're off the hook. So we've had this creation of no one wants to take accountability for their decision. And again, it's this belief that if you get something wrong, you'll be sued, you'll be held liable, or more the word is, you'll be held accountable. Now, I always say to people, if you apply that logic that was put to me and you find yourself before a judge and you say, Your Honour, I used product X blindly because that was just product X and I didn't think about it, and it was wrong, guess what? They'll find you guilty. But that's not the right answer. You need to be able to say, this was all of the judgment that I used. This is the thought process I went through, and this was the decision I made. And that's why I went down this particular path. It's called a standard of care. But a lot of people choose not to. I blindly applied the standard. Now, a compliant design or meeting a standard does not mean a good design or an accountable design. So that's my counsel to everyone. Just think about it, solve the problem, and then make sure that you've got the evidence to back up the decision that you've made.
So what are the systemic issues then at a broader level that are leading to this lack of courage? So what are the things we need to be aware of? Because obviously behaviour is driven from somewhere and people behave in certain ways. What are your thoughts on that?
And it's a hard, well, not harsh, it's unfortunately a reality of our environment, money. So if you look at the alliance environment, money drives behaviours. No one wants to acknowledge it, but it does. That's why KRAs, or key result areas under alliances, are financially incentivised. So you put a lot of money up, it incentivises people to behave in a particular way. So if you look at the last 10 to 15 years, there has been no shortage of money in our industry.
No.
None. Yeah, and we see it in projects blowing out. Money goes over, you put your hand out, someone finds some money. So we've got a learnt behaviour whereby don't try anything because money will be found. It's safe. So that's on one hand in the project delivery. The second part to it is, if you look at a large part of our industry now, certainly at the larger scale, publicly listed companies. So they have a duty to their shareholders to concentrate on money and revenue. So again, why on earth would you be incentivised to go and take a risk on something when you could do something safe and get more revenue? It's as simple as that. So I think money and the abundance of money has driven a culture whereby don't try. The burning platform that we've got coming is the money's drying up. There isn't enough money around. We hear that all the time and we're feeling it in business. People are asking, how do you do more with less? So we need a fundamental shift in the way that we think to say, I've got to do more with less. That means I've got to take a risk. I've got to try some things differently. I've got to be bold and courageous. And that leads to then you're going to have to take accountability. And accountability leads to consequences. And people quite often think of the word as consequences negative. It's not necessarily negative. Consequences can be positive. I had a great outcome from being accountable.
Yeah.
A really great project. So I say to people, accountability and that leads to positive consequences.
What's the danger if we don't start with the work that's coming in businesses and as leaders and also as engineering professionals? What's the danger if we don't start to drive more courageous decisions and more accountability in the industry? What do you think we might see in the next 10 years?
I don't think that's a future that we can even consider because we've got a couple of things coming up. So we all talk about the Olympics. Like it's a non-negotiable. It's got to be done. Otherwise, we'll be the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah.
So no one is going to allow that. Well, certainly at a political level, that's not going to be allowed to occur. So we need to find a way through to solve that. And what I think we'll start to see is the advent and the reformation of our industry. In people who can do more with less will start to get certainly a lot more work, but they'll probably get a larger voice to actually get out and contribute more to our industry. So those who don't want to change and can't be prepared to change, they probably won't survive. And that's a harsh way of looking at it, but it's a reality. That's just a commercial reality of business. So I look forward to the next 10 years because I think it's really exciting. And I'm enthused by, in the engagement that I have with certainly our industry, there's a lot of people who are looking for this. They want to see the change that's been needed for a long time. And our industry will respond. It will respond. And those who don't want to, there's plenty of other industries they can go to.
And there's always problems in industries where you can go, you know what, we can do that better. You know, it's the same in my industry. Well, very easy in my industry in recruitment. I would say, like, I look at that and like, that can be done better. Like, we can definitely do more there. But I think, you know, with challenges comes so much opportunity. You mentioned as well around accountability and courage. What about, I'm just curious because it's something I've been thinking of lately, what about initiative? So those people that take that initiative to do more and put their hand up for more, is that something that you look for as well in your team? Or what are your thoughts around people taking initiative as well as courage?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I suppose it goes to the heart of, and I haven't really talked about the business of Red Fox and why we set it up, and so if I take a step back, I'm looking in my life to probably have 3 careers. I'm in my 50s now, so
yeah.
They always
How many more?
Yeah, I know. They always say men go through 2 midlife crises. One in their 40s, where it's a bit more basic, and in their 50s they start to have a more profound, what am I doing with my life, and
the legacy
piece. And so I've had a corporate career, which I absolutely loved. It was a wonderful career with a great company for a long time, and then I wanted to do something different. I was in my 40s, and I went, if I'm going to try something, I have to do it now, or I'm going to run out of time. So, small business career. What could possibly go wrong? And I would joke, 2019, let's go and have a crack. A little thing called COVID. But anyhow, we get through. And so then I want to have a third career. What that'll be is probably a passion career, which means I won't make any money out of it, but that's okay. So we set up Red Fox with a very simple message purpose of trying to create the engineers of the future. Because I could see a bit of a loss of that ability to think like an engineer. And as I say, I am a really proud engineer. And if it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't have done this, because it was only in about March 2020 we stopped, and we're in the middle of COVID, and we're on Teams and doing the whole thing, and we said, well, let's just go and have a look. What are people buying, and we were asking clients, what can't you buy? What can't you get at the moment? They said, we just can't get considered advice. We get corporate advice, but we can't get considered advice. Just people telling me what I need to hear. So we pivoted and said, well, let's try and get some engineers in and start just selling that service. Really simple, pragmatic engineering advice. So when we bring young people through, and we bring an awful lot through, we try and create an environment where they're given the ability to take initiative. And that is hard, but equally it allows them to develop as an individual, and we reward those who take initiative. And that, I think, is what, as an industry, we can do a lot better, giving them the empowerment to go and try things. And I think on balance, it's working out pretty well so far.
I love something you've touched on there, which is it's something I'd never thought of, but it's a great question, is asking your clients, what can't you get right now? I mean, it sounds so, you think about it, everything that people are told is, okay, come up with an idea, you go out with a business plan, you test your idea. Yeah. Well, you just kind of flipped it on its head and went, well, how about we go to the clients in our sector and go, what aren't you getting? Where's the gap? They know the gap, and listen to them and ask the right questions, and then look at how your service can meet that gap. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I think it's what people don't do, because if you look at a lot of the business advice, it's, I had this vision and I went out and I tested it and it was exactly what was needed. But the reality is you have to meet, especially with doing more with less, more competition, you have to be offering something that the clients need that they can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it's that means, again, it's courage in that in its own right. Sometimes you've got to tell people, I can't help you. And we did a little job. They rang up and said, I've got some problem with some pavements. And so Frank, who works for us, I said, matey, can you just have a quick look at this? I've got a bit of a problem. Let's see if we can do anything. And he spent about 4 or 5 hours on it. And he said, I've had a look. And there's just nothing. They're just in trouble. And they're just going to have to dig deep and pay for it and get through it. I said, okay, just ring him up and just tell him. He said, what do you want to do? Do you want to try and invoice? And I said, nah, just pure pro bono. Like, sometimes it's just important to step and say, this is where we are. We've had a look and we just can't help you. And that's what we did. And the chap said to Frank, thank you for that good, honest advice. Like, it's the one thing I just needed to hear. And again, that's the thing. Like, I always try and want to help people. And it's my shortcoming. I work too hard trying to solve the problem. But sometimes just say, look, you're just in it. You can't get out of it. You're in trouble. You're just going to have to power on through and pay the money or whatever it is. And as you know, I do a lot of disputes and mediations for people. And again, I say to people sometimes, I'm going to take them to court. And I said, no, you're not. Like, that's a lot of pain, a lot of grief. This is the reality of it. Like, if you've got a really strong case, yeah, maybe, but sometimes best just to cut a deal and move on with your life, and the emotional energy that you will invest, you can put into more positive things. It's a real. I love that environment. I love helping people, and it's the most wonderful experience when someone turns around and says, "Thank you, thank you for just telling me what I need to hear."
When you look at it now, in terms of those disputes and in terms of dealing with people from different perspectives, and you like to help, how do you, I guess, maintain that balance of wanting to help but knowing when you can't anymore as well?
That's incredibly hard to get the balance right, because being Kiwi, I'm incredibly competitive. I love to win. So it's really hard. But that's the joy, and for those people who know me, that I love to negotiate. It's just what I absolutely love doing. And I've learned a lot of skills over my career in really different environments in negotiation. And I worked with this chap here. We were actually negotiating a deal where he was on the other side, and we ended up becoming good friends. And this guy was like absolute well-known, like very senior business person. He's passed away now, but he taught me so much about the art of coming to a negotiation and finding common ground. Now, he was he was a tough customer. I was only in my 30s, I think it was, and we're negotiating a settlement of a dispute we had in New South Wales, and he was, reporting to one of the wealthiest business people in the country. But gee whiz, he taught me some skills. I can still remember I was about to serve a security payments notice on them, and I thought I was so clever. And he looked at me, and he knew, even though I hadn't suggested we were going to do it, he knew what was about to come. So he's sitting in the room, and he always wore braces. And he's sitting there, and he's got this plastic sleeve. And I came, and he tells me this great story. He always started with a great story because he had such a wonderful career. And then he just said, "Now, Ben, I've been thinking about everything we've been talking about, and trying to resolve this." And he pulls out this piece of paper and he signs it in front of me. He said, "Ben, I've thought about it all. I'm making you an offer for this to go away. Have a look at it. Don't tell me now. Just have a think about it, and then give me a call." And he got up and walked out. It was the most...
Wow.
Yeah. And it was not about... It was a very good offer. So anyhow, I rang the then COO and I said, this is how much they've offered. And he said, "Take it. We didn't expect you to get a third of that. So take it." But I couldn't help myself. I had to ring him up and ask for a little bit more, which I did get. But we became good friends, and he just taught me so much about the art of negotiating and how to cut a deal. He was an absolute master.
Okay.
Absolute master.
Tell me some of the things you learned. So what's with the skill of negotiation, because it's something I think that everyone has to do in the industry, no matter whether you're a business owner, whether you're a commercial manager, whether you're an engineer dealing in a joint venture and you're negotiating, like there's all that, such a big element of it. What are some of the skills that are important in negotiation?
So first and foremost is knowing your walkaway point and being realistic. People always have these, in their head, they I want $1 million. Now, the reality is they'll walk away for 500. And so we always talk about the deal zone. So, well, not we, I always talk about the deal zone. So there's three sorts of numbers in life. A stupid number, I'll give you a recruitment fee for $1,000. It's never going to cut it. Like, it's never going to happen. But people just say these numbers, like, that's just really basic negotiation. Second one is a plausibly credible. So someone's made up some mathematical formula to justify a number. You're never going to cut a deal at it, but it's a number where people go, "Oh yeah, I can lie at night knowing I've used some maths to come up with a number," but you'll never get a deal. And then there's a credible offer. And that's really hard to get that number right, because a credible offer is one where people go, "It's less than what I want, and less than what I was hoping for and I was going to deal at, but I might be able to survive at that." So the brain changes. So they move from, "No, I'm not going to negotiate," to, "I might be able to cut a deal here." And that getting that number right is really important, and getting people's mindsets into it. So that, I would say, you've got to start to get your bookends right of where is the real deal. So now there's lots of mathematical ways that we can do it. I did a negotiation one that took about 4 years to resolve.
4-year negotiation?
Yeah, a lot of court proceedings as well.
That is some staying power, yeah.
And about 8 months out before we actually cut a deal, I mathematically worked out the number. And I was only $500,000 off what I wrote down, the final number, which was in the millions, lots of millions. So you go, actually, there's a way that you can work it all out. But getting people to that position is just so hard. And the worst kind of negotiation is with someone who doesn't want to negotiate. And they just don't want to cut a deal. They just want to drag it on. They're the hard ones. I did a divorce settlement once, and it was so hard because we got there, but the thing with it is you're dealing with rational people who are thinking irrationally because they're emotionally hurt.
Yes.
So it's really, and just for clarity, it wasn't my I'm happily married to my wife now for 25 years, I think it is. So 23 years. So so it's how do you get people acting irrationally into a rational zone and say, now we can do a deal.
Because the other thing I've always been curious about, and obviously being in a job where there's a lot of negotiation, where someone comes in here with what they want, the client comes in, and you're trying to land in the middle. One of the things that I'm always interested in, I'd love your thoughts. Do you have to go through the ridiculous offer and the low ball to get to the credible? How do you get to the credible offer quicker?
Yeah. You
know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. Like, and so it's interesting that I shouldn't give away all my trade secrets. So people always start with a number, right? So you have the stupid offer high, stupid offer low. So I did a negotiation once. It was we were being sued over something, this previous company. And it was crazy. Like, we had a limitation liability or whatever else, and the guy said, I want $3 million. And I said, well, you're getting zero. So they're the bookends, so the extremities.
It's big extremity, yeah.
Yeah. So they come, we have this day where we've got the mediator there, and they've got barristers and all these people. It was me and one other person turned up. What could possibly go wrong? We had
you got this, man.
full day in the office, right? So they went from 3 down to 1. I went, right. So it's a gradient, right?
Yeah. 3
successive offers, you draw the line. And yours, going up a bit, you draw the line. The intersection point, it's where they always meet. Shock horror. So they came down to $1 million and then 700, and I stayed at 0, 0, 0, and 5. And then I think I went to 10. And I was just holding because I was like, I know I'd worked out my number. Where was the walkaway point? Because I knew I figured I would get this limitation liability to stick, and so that was $300,000. It's like I might as well have my chance. But if I went to court, I wouldn't get my legal costs back. So I knew I was going to lose some money either way, even if it was awarded against me, $300 plus my legal costs. So I was probably in $550. So he's coming down, I was moving, then I was just sweating. It was about 4:45. And the guy's like, mate, who was running between the rooms, I said, mate, he's like, come on. It's like, let's just cut a deal, hey? Like, I'm getting tired, I want to go home. And I said, okay, I'll go up to 200. And then they came down, I think, to 240, so I was still $60,000 ahead. And they did this thing called a call to bank offer, and they stuffed it up because it's like, I'll make an offer and then, you can get your legal costs back if you've been to court and whatever else. But they made it at $300,000. Now, the limitation liability was $300,000, and you're like, well, you're never going to get more than that, not $1 more. If they were smart, they would have made it $299,999. Then I would have been probably more on the hook. So I was just like, seriously, man, what are you thinking? Like, this was just basic negotiation. Anyhow, we got the deal done. So what's
you've taught me something. So hold your hold your position.
Yeah.
Don't give your cards away too early. I reckon I don't hold enough. I'm like listening to negotiate.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was reading a book about it once. I can't remember what it was called, but everyone's got like their own negotiation style inherently that they will do. But that can be good and bad. Like, you're better off learning the art of it or the skill.
Well, and as I say,
you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Well, as I say, I learned this all from David. So he'd always tell you these stories, but he told me before we did that deal I was telling you about where he gave me the offer, he told me about this story about taking a union to court for $240,000. Like, and I mean, it was high court. Like he was throwing them around like a rag doll. Like this guy was just, when he needed to be, he was brutal. And he told me the story of how he went and told his boss around, this is what we're going to do. And I can still remember it. He said to me, they said to me, that's a bit harsh, David, are you sure? And he said, I think it's right. And he said, now, David, remember, we never lose a court battle. And he pointed at me. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is not, it's about the win for these guys. It's not about the money. They just need to settle this and make sure that they're in control of the situation. And so, was I fearful? You bet I was. I was like, I'm taking this money and running like I'm getting out of here. Like, these guys could absolutely throw me around like a rag doll. And that's just a different way of working those guys. But they are private, high wealth individuals. They just operate differently to the corporate world.
I think you hit on something there that's important too. And it's something, when there's emotion involved with negotiation, and I think when you were talking about the divorce settlement that you were going through and proceedings with the emotion involved, you got to understand what the other person needs to feel that they have won or whatever. That some people have this figure because they need it for a reason. Some people want to feel like they've won no matter what. And so it's really interesting that you hooked into it's about what does the other person need to feel that they've won.
Absolutely, yeah. It's understanding other people's side. So we always, in negotiation, you often talk about the two islands, they're in the sea, how do you build a bridge between them? And it's understanding what does each party want. And this is I think, part of the issue of our industry and society more generally now. We've lost the art of actually having a conversation.
Yeah.
So you'll say, contact this person to find out X. I email them. Pick up a piece.
Or email someone that's in the same office. No. Get up and talk to them.
Talk to them. Like, pick up your phone and just give them a call, like 5 minutes. And so, I got that wrong. I didn't understand what they said in their email. Yeah, shock horror. So that's the thing I think, we can all learn from as a society more. Just talk. Be together and understand one another's positions. And in businesses, it's the thing about diversity. Don't employ people just like yourself, whatever their background. Employ people that are different and think differently to you, and you can communicate and come up with different solutions. That's the thing.
One of the things you spoke around before when we talk about courage and taking risks and things like that, sometimes I think people hide behind. Someone once said to me in a recruitment team, and this was back when I was working for construction companies, I said, why do you keep sending that email to people? Why don't you get up and talk to them? She goes, CYA. And I said, what do you mean CYA? She goes, cover your ass. And she goes, I want to cover myself so if anything goes wrong, it's all in writing. And I said, yeah, but you're costing yourself the relationship. So by doing that, you show that person that you don't trust them. So you're not having the courage to trust your relationship. Go out, have a coffee, talk about it, and you'll get it resolved in 10 minutes versus I'm CC'd, watching the two of you ping pong in an email that goes for 3 or 4 days,
Yeah, and this whole concept of cover your ass.
Yes.
It's everywhere now.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that's stifling the way that we are. And we should not be having a cover my ass to don't stuff up.
Yeah.
Like it's simple as that. Like if we do good work and actually think about it and communicate and so forth, it actually solves all the problems. And it's part of the thing around how do we allow failure to occur in a safe environment to learn? And again, when you look at our industry or industries more generally now, there's a lot of big corporate control, and the small businesses are starting to come back through. But Australia, 40, 50 years ago, it was a small business industry. We're all, it was full of small businesses. And unfortunately, a lot of them go bust, and you learn from that. And you've heard me talk. Well, we've talked previously about my nan, and it's where I think I get a lot of my inspiration as an industry person now. My nan was a publican. I digress. So I've got three two grandparents, both have lived over 100, and I've had a great-grandmother who lived over, she was nearly 103. So my Nana was a super tough person. She was absolutely amazing, Nan, to me. Highly competitive. Do you see where I get it from? Yeah. But she was a publican, and it would have been a tough environment in the 40s, 50s. So Pop and her got married during the war. Pop went off to war. Nan worked as a secretary and a typist. Anyhow, they came back and they ended up getting into the industry of owning pubs. And they had a pub up in Bundaberg, and they lost it. They lost everything. Because it was about the lease that they had, and the building got sold and it got demolished, the pub that they were in. So they came back to Brisbane. So they didn't have a lot of money. My mum and her brother Ian were with them, and I forget what Mum did. She went off to get a job, and Pop went back to being a mechanic. And Nan would not have it. She's like, nope, I want another pub, because she had lost everything, and Nana was so proud. She wanted to be her own boss again. So she went off to Forex and demanded a meeting with the CEO, which she got. Can you believe it?
Your Ned's a legend.
Yeah. So she got a meeting. She walked in, and the Edinburgh Castle Hotel at Kedron, highest Forex sale at the time, and she said, I want that pub. And they're like, we're not giving you that pub. And she said, well, I'm not leaving until you give me a pub. So anyhow, they finally... she would not leave until they gave one. So finally they agreed they'd give her the Orient Hotel in the Valley. And so she had to raise the capital to go and buy the beer, and anyhow off they went, and they worked damn hard, and they were very, very successful. But it's that thing of how do you fail and you learn from it. It's like Nam was never going to let that happen again. So she minded her money very well. They worked incredibly hard. They invested wisely, and they did well. But we don't have that now, an environment which is just cover your ass, don't fail, be vanilla, and be safe. And nothing can go wrong. Well, it can go very wrong still.
You know what, I've thought about this a lot lately as well. One of the things that stops you worrying about failing is when you realise that things and money are just things and money. Your family, your integrity, the values you have, you don't lose them. If you lost everything, you still don't lose your family. You don't lose your work ethic and your integrity. So I don't know what it is, but I feel like for everybody, it's also about freeing yourself of living a life of limitations. Because the more that you are scared of, I know this sounds, stay with me here, more you're scared, what if I lose my house? Or what if I lose money here? I shouldn't do it. Or what if I'm held accountable for this, design suggestion I've made and I sign off and it's wrong? All of these are risks. But if we don't take risks, then we don't innovate. And if we don't innovate, then we're not really acting either with integrity in our profession if we don't constantly push to do better.
That's right. And I say to people, like, when we put up a solution or we provide some advice, that's a reflection of us as an individual. So when I was getting my coaching, I was asked all these questions about, well, what do you want people to say at your funeral? There's a confronting question to put to everyone, and you've got to write down. And Shirley, who was my coach, she said, and you've got to write down 20 things, because the first 5 are all the usual, it's what your brain, it's actually about the last 5 that you go, they're the more profound things that actually, what do you want to be known as? And so I say to people who want to be vanilla, well, by the bottom 20, they did safe designs. They didn't try anything too different. Whereas I want to be known as the person of, he had a go. He actually cared about what he did. And that's the thing of engineering at its very heart is we are meant to be solving problems for community. And in the engineering industry, we all think our clients are our customers, and they're not. Our clients quite often are public authorities who are acting on behalf of the community. We solve complex problems for the community. They're our true customers. So I say to everyone, that's your duty and obligation. Do the best by the community. Yes, along the way we might get some things wrong, but that's okay. We'll learn and we'll take those learnings forward and we'll embed them in the future. And accountability is nothing to be ashamed of. And if you're getting to the point where a judge, who are the moral compass of society, is saying you did wrong, well then you probably did. If you were grossly negligent and you didn't think about what you're doing, which a lot of people do by just blindly applying standards, you will be found liable. But if you do good work, reasonable judgment, and think about it on balance, they'll find in your favour.
I think you've touched on something, just listening to your story and your nan, and we've spoken about your son before, and I want to talk about it because when we look at courage, I think children in the next generation are seeing, and watching what we do too. If we act courageously and are okay with having to take a risk that we might be wrong, but we've acted in the very best interest of the community and with the knowledge that we had at hand in mind in making that decision, then they start to feel more comfortable. So I almost think like our generation as well has a responsibility to be courageous, to model that for our kids. Tell me about that and your son, because I think this is, I think for people listening, yes, there's the element at work, but for me as a parent, I think I'm starting to really reflect on, we can tell our kids all we want, but they're going to see what we do, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and look, I start by sort of talking about, I love looking at the profile of the people that I employ and the change in the attitude and in the generational change. So I'm in my 50s, so you can imagine my generation.
Which generation are you? I can't know that.
We're Gen X, aren't we?
You're Gen X?
Oh, I'm Gen X.
You're Gen X, my husband's Gen X, I'm a millennial.
Right.
Yeah. Turning 40. I don't know. Anyway.
So I sort of look at the people coming through, and I find, and this is a function of the environment. So an environment where there's been lots of money and you don't have to worry too much, there's a little bit of, it's a sense of entitlement. But those coming through who've lived through COVID, and I see it in my graduates in particular and undergraduates, they want to be with you. They want to be in the office. They want to be learning. They're very courageous because there's a gap in their life, which was COVID, where they were stuck at home and they couldn't engage people. So I love working with our graduates and undergraduates to see how they can develop. And then I look at my kids coming through as well, and it's how much they have changed. Now, Jasper, my 16-year-old, he's basketball, he's much taller than Dad, so I think I'm 6'3", he'd be at least 6'4" now, loves his basketball. So he's becoming a beautiful young man, and it was an interesting one. We got a phone call from the school the other day, so he briefly mentioned it. He didn't say too much about it, but he was walking back from speech day, and they'll go over the Victoria Bridge, and there was one of his classmates slightly in front of him, and he's with another friend. And as they were walking over, the young man, whether he was having any particular support in terms of medication or not, he was having a bad day, and he had chosen he was going to jump off the bridge. So he was trying to get over the rail to jump, and his classmate in front grabbed this guy and pulled him off, and was trying to hold him. And people are walking past and just ignoring, and he's saying, "Can someone help me? Can someone help me?" Now, Jasper and his mate ran over and jumped in and helped get the guy, calm him down and hold him, and they walked him over to the mall and get some help. And you go, now, isn't that just wonderful that 3 16-year-old young men looked up and they saw someone in need of help and they jumped in and did the right thing. And it's part of the thing that part of me looks at it and thinks, how many parts of society are just going, well, bystander apathy, just walk past, someone else will do it. Yet these young chaps have been taught, now whether it's me, school or whatever, I'm not sure, but they knew what the difference between right and wrong and when to step in and try and give a hand to help someone in need. And I was just so proud of him and his friends and all of the school for doing the right thing. And I think the school's done a wonderful thing in raising them to be respectful and knowing the difference between right and wrong and when to step in, when to have a go. There's nothing wrong with that. And so if I bring it back to business, that's what we say in our business to all our staff: have a crack. Just have a go at it. What's the worst that can happen? We might not work out. Now, does that mean we make it uncomfortable for our staff? Absolutely. And I've got to say, sometimes I feel sorry for them because we do make it pretty tough for them. And I apologise to them. If they're listening to this, I apologise to it. But it's the way that you can learn how to potentially fail in a safe environment. And what we do is we let them go for a while, and then if we see them under the water for too long, we pull them out and let them have a breather, and then we let them go again. And geez, they come good. Like I've just got so many fantastic young engineers coming through, and they're really impressive, like really, really impressive.
How do we safely stretch? Like, because I'm fascinated by how do you create an environment where it's not a blame culture, but it's enough that you're held accountable for your decisions, but that you're courageous enough to stretch. What are some of the things you intentionally do to try and create that?
Yeah, so we try and give clear safety rails around them. So we say, look, these are the outer limits or the golden box. Once you we don't like you signing off a variation contract to someone without telling you. So that's probably
fair.
Yeah. So it's being clear with your communication. These are the things that we really need to know about. The other stuff, we're going to give you freedom to go and have a go at it. And all that we ask is then you check in with your peers. So step 1, check it yourself. Step 2, check with your peers and ask them to have a look. And then 3, come to us and have a look. And and I think that it requires a lot of discipline by ourselves not to solve everyone's problems. I'm an ambulance driver. I love telling people what to do. I just absolutely love it. I love solving problems. It plays my ego. So you've got to be really disciplined with yourself, saying, I'm going to give you freedom to do this, and you're probably going to do it wrong, but that's okay. So I'm doing a little planning job at the moment. I've got to do a roundabout, and again, I shouldn't be doing it, but I'd love to get into AutoCAD and draw it myself. But no, I've got a particular graduate. I said, right, I'm going to show you how to draw it and you can have a go at it. And the first time, guess what? It's going to look pretty bad, but that's okay. Just have a go at it. Then you'll have to draw it again. And then the third time you'll be getting it about right.
Yeah.
So we just say to them, it's best to have a go, but don't issue it to the client until we've had a chance to have a review. So having those clear safety rails around them, and what the best thing then to do is say, well, what's the objective? What are we trying to achieve? What should it look like? Step them through it, and then say, I'll give you 2-3 days, just have a go at it. That's the environment we try to create. The problem is time pressures quite often kick in, and numbnuts here sitting in the seat just like, right, I've got to get this done, solve. Like I can't help myself.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard bit.
And that's the hard part, and you're not alone. A lot of engineering professionals get into that job because they love problem solving. Yeah. And there is an element of ego to it as well, and everyone's got it where it feels good to solve a problem. Yeah. The rewards of leadership are a lot harder because they're a lot more slow and quiet and reflective, because you're not getting that quick instant dopamine from showing someone else how to do it that doesn't yet know, where you solve the problem and your brain gets that dopamine, you're like, oh, look at me, I still got it.
and you would find it in your business, like we take great pride in everything we do because it's a reflection of you as an individual. So I am an incredibly proud person. So I love everything that goes out to be absolutely perfect. Now that's not possible. But that's the challenge, and I think it's some people would use the term arrogance, but I say pride. And so you want an environment where people do take pride in what they do, because that's when the magic starts to happen. So you create an environment where you're clear on your purpose, you take great pride in what you do, and you give people the freedom to create and try things. That's when you get really magical outcomes.
Pride is something. My nan was a very proud person. I took that from my nan. My nan was always like, you go prepared. Yep. You always put your best self. She would never leave the house without makeup, my nan. And she was always like, you go and present yourself well to wherever you go. And we were not allowed to swear. My nan was very much like, which I think she struggled with when I started working construction. She's like, what is this? And so my nan would always be like, people swear because they don't have a better way to describe what they're trying to say. She was just like that.
And did she pay for everything?
She also just worked right until she passed away. She worked, had her own sewing business and things like that. She always was very proud, but also very honest. You know, she called a spade a spade. So I think there's a lot from those generations before us that we can learn and take through as well. And I agree with you, pride, and it is very hard though. When you take immense pride because it's your business and your brand, and then you've got to instill that in people coming through as well and going, when you put this work out there, that you're saying, this is the standard I'm happy with. Like for us, I'm saying, if you put that candidate there, you're saying you would hire them. And if you wouldn't, then why would you, I had someone come in the podcast once that was talking about a driveway, and he was just basically saying, if you wouldn't accept that driveway in your house, why are you going to sign off that that's okay for this? And he was using the driveway for a road, like an analogy with an engineer.
And it's funny what you say about pride. I'll tell another story about my other grandmother who's still alive.
Yeah.
So she's 102 in March. So she only moved out when she was 99. She lived on her own up until 99.
Wow.
Yeah, and she just, in Babinda, like as you do on acreage, she mowed her own lawn for a while. And I went and saw her probably about 5 years ago, and she's like, she's got a walker. Anyhow, we hadn't seen her in a few years. Oh, love, I'm not good on my legs now. Okay. So she gets inside, Walker gets tossed to the side, and off she goes. She's got the jam drops out and so forth. I said,
Mine and my jam drops too. Carry on. They're the best.
She said to me, I've had a terrible time. I had a busted water main outside. I said, how'd that happen? I was trying to pull out the weeds. Oh, yeah, here we go. Pull out the weeds, and I couldn't get this weed out, so I got the mattock, and I swung down. And I went through the water main. It's like, are you serious?
Man!
Like, you're in your 90s. But anyhow, she broke a leg. Why she had to move out of home? She broke a leg washing the curtains, as you do. And when she was slopping the curtains out, she must have slipped on the tiles and broke a leg. But you see it in her now. She's in the hospital in Babinda, and just the challenge of being stuck there, like it's really tough for her.
It's actually very hard. My nan went blind and got really, and they do really struggle, because when they've been proud and independent, and to have that taken away is very hard.
Well, and it's, you see it in, and I was saying something the other day, I think like my parents and my grandparents, they just had muscle memory to fight. They had a muscle memory of their body just wouldn't give in. So my father, I'm renovating my house at the moment, so you can see my hands, they're blue.
You got carpenter hands.
I've got carpenter hands everywhere. They're really tough. So
do you want to see Ben's hands? You can see them on YouTube.
So I was pulling out one of the bathrooms. My father came out. So he was a builder, and he's 83 now. And anyhow, so he came over because he can't really see. He actually has got a form of terminal cancer, but he's been getting immunotherapy treatment. It's just amazing. So I say to anyone, if you want to learn more about great cancer treatments, look up immunotherapy treatment. So he's good at the moment, but he can't really see too much. But he still knows how to do stuff. So he come out and say, "Nah, don't do it like this," and he still gets it, and it pisses me off that despite all my work, he still knows how to do things better than me. But anyhow, we came over and we're pulling out the bath, and there was a big block of concrete underneath the old bathtub, which I must have put there myself. And it's like, I've got to break this up. So I've got Jasper, the middle boy, and so come on, you can come and break up this concrete. And so I got the big sledgehammer. I said, come on, give it a break. And so he gets in, tap, bang. No, I say, mate, no, come on, you got to get into it. It's like, bang. It's like, no, matey. And I can see Dad starting to get frustrated by this stage. So I've got a pinch bar under it and lift it up a bit. And I say, go on, give it another. Bang. And Dad's like, no, Jazzy, you're doing it all wrong. Watch out. So 84-year-old, you've got to wear a stocking because he's got no lymph nodes and stuff and all sorts of stuff. He went in, got the sledgehammer, he goes, no, watch me. Bang. And he swung it perfectly. And I go, that is muscle memory. He just knows how to do this. And I think this is the thing. We condition our bodies to go, I'm going to behave and act in a particular way. There's just a level of grit that you've got to train your body to. And that's what we're trying to train our kids. It's just this grit and determination to fight. Yeah. That when it gets tough, whatever that toughness is, your body knows how to step into gear. And that's I would just love to know how to get that ingredient right, because I think I've got that grit.
I also think that once you know that you've got the will to fight, no matter what business, life, anything throws at you, the minute you know you've got that grit and willingness to fight, you're not scared.
Yeah.
And that drives courage too, because you're like, this could all go badly, but I know inside me, no matter what happens, I've got the grit and determination to pull myself out of it, to figure out a way. And I think that the grit thing is something I think we want to foster in ourselves and our kids, 100%.
So I'm renovating this house, and I did this ceiling, and it was the hardest ceiling I've ever done, and I sort of got into it. You find yourself and you go, this is a lot harder than I expected.
Yes.
I just got to find an answer. Like, I couldn't throw in the towel.
You got to. I was
to get it done.
I was once we were unloading 11. We bought 11 donkeys, and we got told that we'd researched that you had to get them off this float, and the best way to do it was onto like a one of those cattle prod things to get them off. Like it's basically a ramp. We were wrong because donkeys love to jump, and I did not know this. So we spent 2 bloody hours trying to get these donkeys. We're using the prod and things like that. Yeah. But the simple solution was, in the end, we figured out, we took out, and we'd paid thousands for this cattle thing. In the end, we took it away, and the donkeys just jumped off. Bloody hell. 2 hours in the sun, you can just imagine. Yeah. So sometimes it's also just pushing through and knowing that eventually you'll land on a solution, no matter how simple it might be. Yep. And I agree with you. I think once you start to do that, you just keep going through the motions until you get there. Yep. You don't quit. Yep. And I think that there's something that we want to foster in the next generations, and that means giving them a level of discomfort. Yeah. Letting life be a bit hard sometimes. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I don't know what this means exactly, but it's also giving yourself freedom to actually stop and say, look, I'm not going to get that done. Say no. Frank, my old boss, who works for us now, he's still in his 70s but still loves to come to work. He said, it's the power of no. It's a bit like this time of year. Do you notice, we've got, 2 and a bit weeks of work left? And it's finally the time of the year you finally say to yourself, yeah, I'm not going to get that done. You got your 3 lists. Yeah. Doing now, not doing now, never doing now. The never doing now list finally I'm not going to do all these things, and I'll go through the motion again. On the last day, I'll finally go, I made it. I made it to the end of the year. I'm upright and on the right side of the green. Okay, next year I'm going to do all these things differently. I don't make long lists. One thing. Just pick one thing and do that.
Yep. And be realistic about what you're going to achieve between now and the end of the year, Yeah. And still people come through with last minute requests and things like that, and you've got to be considered and go and realistic with people and go, yep, I can absolutely do that, or I can start, but we're not going to finish till, this time. So one of the questions I always like to ask, and interestingly, I'm sure you'll have a good answer because your coach has got you to do the graveyard speech, is legacy. So I'm always interested to hear from our guests, what's the legacy you hope to leave from your life's work?
I hope people don't start off at my funeral saying he was a great guy, because it's normally followed by a but. I like people to say I made a positive contribution to society. I do bridges and roads and so forth. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't want them talking about that. Say he actually made a contribution to society. And that might mean, one, through the projects I deliver, but more importantly for me, it's the people that I train. And that is the legacy that I want. As I say, I'm in my 2nd career. I'm going to do a 3rd career I'd like. And so I'm on a time scale now because in my 50s now, I'm going to run out of time to do this. Having said that, I'm probably never going to stop working. It's just me to a T. I love getting out of bed and going and doing something. It's why we don't have a holiday house, because my wife says you'll just get bored 2 days in. What are we doing today? We're going to watch the ocean, but I'm bored. That's why we need one with a boat where I can go fishing. So ultimately, the legacy I want is people to say he trained a lot of great engineers that went on and contributed to society and made the world a better place. If I can achieve that, that's my legacy that I'll be most proud of.
I love that. That's beautiful.
That's my work career.
Yeah.
And then my private career, I just hope I raise 3 kids to be absolutely wonderful, that again do whatever they're passionate about, and again make a positive contribution.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's awesome. The next few questions are our rocket round.
Yep.
So just a bit of fun, and that's just more about you. Coffee and wine. Coffee or wine?
Wine.
Wine. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
And favourite holiday destination?
I love Cairns.
Oh, there you go. Any particular place staying in Cairns, or just camping?
No, I love fishing. See, this is my 3rd career. So the 3rd career is either owning a pub or a charter fishing service, both which are terrible commercial ideas.
Yeah.
So a floating pub where you could go fishing would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be cool.
So I love Cairns. You always just feel better there. Best holiday I had was probably 2 years ago. We went to Italy. Oh my God, I didn't really want to go back. It was a wonderful trip.
Amazing. And tell me about some of the podcasts or books that you read or listen to.
I don't listen to podcasts too much, but books, I tend to read really basic action books these days, or biographies.
Dan Clancy? He's action, isn't
I'm reading about there was a guy, he wrote the Grey Man series.
Oh.
He's passed away now. I'm trying to think of his name. Excellent book. Really
So
good.
more escapism, like
Yeah.
books is like,
Yeah.
I love it. And what makes you feel like you're home?
I used to travel a lot for work, and there was nothing better, a lot. So I used to have more than 100 flights a year.
Ooh, yep.
And there was nothing better than getting out of the airport, jumping in my car and driving home and going over the big bridge at the roundabout there. So I'm home, looking out over Brisbane, and when I get home, shorts and a T-shirt. I don't like wearing shoes at the best of times. I don't like wearing long pants. Shorts and T-shirt is my place of comfort. So being at home on the lounge watching TV, it sounds terrible. And since my legs are up about 3 minutes in, I'm sound asleep.
Yeah. I feel you. I hate wearing heels. Every time. I feel like I'm a giraffe every time I wear heels during the week because it's not me. So, look, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed our episode. And I think if some people can take some lessons around courage, and we even covered negotiation skills, so there's a lot to cover in the episode, and the things we want to foster in the future of engineering. I think it was a really good episode. How can they connect with you, learn more about Red Fox as well?
On our webpage, you'll find connection points there, LinkedIn. Always happy to talk with people. And I meet with a lot of people and talk. And I say to people, if you ever want to sit down and have a chat, it takes no time or effort to do. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And I also think, credit where credit's due, I think you are someone that does want to give voice to different people in the industry. I was very honoured when you invited me to a round table recently that your business ran, and just encouraging different perspectives and different thoughts. So I want to commend you on that.
Thank you.
Because I know it's an effort that you put in, and you've got a business to run, but I certainly see you doing that and having the courage to have the conversations and bring people into the room. So it's definitely something that you are living.
Absolute pleasure. And as you know, I'm very passionate about small businesses, particularly Queensland ones. So let's hopefully over the next 10 years see the rise of the small business.
Watch out, Queensland. They're all coming for you. Thank you so much.
No worries.
If this episode gave you new insights, don't let them go to waste. Take action. Apply them. And if you want more insider strategies from the best in construction and infrastructure, make sure to subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the leaders who open the most doors aren't waiting for opportunities, they're building them.